for present this evening. Township manager, township solicitor, township engineer, code enforcement officer, we have our assistant manager and chief. Making sure we have our guest, Terry Bowden. Please stand for pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Seeing one of my name here for public comments. If you have it in writing, Jeff, anybody sent it to you?
No company on one participant on Zoom.
Do they have something to say?
They've not indicated that they do.
Okay. Very good. Just go by that then. Okay. The next, before we even announce the motion, based on a previous meeting we had with Terry and Rob, solicitor, we went to have Terry come to the podium, first speaker, and Rob will be the next speaker, and I want our township solicitor to be the next speaker. And after that, after their, I would ask each of the board members to seize the opportunity to speak to the issue about Burkett Manor. Anything Terry might have said, Rob might have said, or our solicitor. So Terry, would you come up, and pretty much what I want you to do is, from our previous meeting, give us an update on what is taking place, what has transpired, your work with Rob, anything we may need to know that might be new to us. Pretty much summarize and give us an overview of what we've discussed and what we've updated and so forth.
Very well, thank you. Good afternoon. Thank you very much for the opportunity to address your board today. Very much appreciated. Here today to speak about Burkett Manor, and in particular the financial security provisions in the developers agreement, adjusting the amount of the bonding, and also was hoping to discuss the Burkett Lane, the dedication to the township, or what portion of Burkett Lane the township would like to accept. I think tremendous progress has been made in the last 30 days, the last 45 days. There's been a number of meetings that have occurred with staff and with the president, and I think we have a clear understanding of where we're at with the development and what needs to happen to bring the development work to the conclusion this year, this calendar year. If we start out, this township has been desirous of making sure bonding is in place. The project started. I have seen documents, I have seen bonds from Harco, which is a national firm that writes bonds. The question with the township has always been, they provided copies. They were looking for an original just in case they ever needed to be active. That I have not been able to secure a second original for this board. So I think it's prudent that we get bonding in place, and that's why we're here today to discuss. It starts with the developers agreement with the township. That was executed, I believe, June of 2022. At that time, if you look at the developers agreement, there was bonding to be to the township in the amount of $3,900,000 and some change, $3,900,000. Inside, if you study that list, there is approximately $370,000 related to sanitary. As you know, the township is no longer in the sanitary business, so we separated that $3,900,000 and about $370,000 or $376,000 associated with sanitary it's a separate bond in retail. So approximately $3.5 million is the amount in the development agreement related to the township specific items. We're here today, and the township, but also has a provision in the development agreement to adjust that bonding 10%. The project goes over 1 year, municipal planning code or agreement development gives you the right to ask for that bonding to be bumped 10%. From the developer side, the developer has the right to ask the township work placed. The 3.9 works its way down based on work that has been placed. As that process started on March the 30th or March 31st, I submitted to the township an estimate of what I thought bonding, I suggested what I thought the bonding would be, and what I used in some townships, they take the developer's agreement and they use those unit prices and they bump those unit prices 10%. The number that I had suggested to the township on March 31st was resetting the bond in the amount of $1,377,000. Based on several meetings with the township position was very clear. We don't want to use those values in the development agreement. We want to use current dollars. And so what we've done is work towards achieving current dollars for the first in the work that has been performed. There are some deficiencies. There are some corrected items, primarily, and Rob could speak to it, but those pertain to inlets and putting a wearing surface on the work that's been placed so far. That with Rob and your road supervisor Kevin. They really asked us not to put the wearing surface on. These deficiencies were corrected. We agree that's the first. Fix the inlets first, and then you put your based on we had an outside another contractor take a look and gave us bids so that we could put a number to what those corrections would be. Those proposals came from Alice Parish. There's 9 years and does a lot of road work. There's a lot of water work, as everyone knows. So we try to define that work on the correction number, and then went out and the contractor who had done the work to date, Possible Construction out of Uniontown. They are not available to come back to the site until January 1st. We're not in a position to wait for Possible to come back for the remaining work. So I've secured bids from a company that I've worked with for the last 32 years, Stewart Contractor, I'm sorry, and they're based in Cecil Township. And so they have given a new bid to finish the project for the remaining work. So current dollars on correction from Alex Parish, current dollars to finish the work by Stewart Contracting. And there's several items that are in the developer's agreement that took the amount of developer's agreement up to 10%. For instance, one is sidewalks. That was not in Constable's contract. It's not in Stewart's contract. The agreement with the builder, Apartment Homes NVR, the builder puts in 90% of the sidewalks. Don't put the sidewalks in now, and then they would get brush destroyed as the houses are being built. So in the contract, it's the builder's responsibility to install the sidewalks, but as the developer has to bond to the township to make sure the sidewalks are built. So a combination of corrective work on work performed for the bonds, the main work contract with Stewart, and then the miscellaneous items that are not in Stewart's contract that are in the developer's agreement to bump those numbers by the 10%. The reset on those numbers is $1,728,000. That's on this sheet of paper. And then we add the additional 10% that's required in the MPC and the developer's agreement. of $172,000. And then we can also add an inspection escrow of 5%, which is $95,000. So as I stand to you today, I've submitted to the township a schedule that says bonder to the township would like to set and really the correct number, $1,996,005. So that's all detailed, and it's on the bottom, if you look at that sheet, we have already secured the bond for Ouija, for the maintenance bond. That's for 18 months. And the form of that bond has been submitted to Ouija. They have blessed it. They say the amount is appropriate. That bond is being signed today, and the Federal Express to Ouija will have it tomorrow. In addition, that discussion about looking at the development agreement, there's about $47,000 of monies escrowed or identified for Burkett Lane. The thought was when the project's done, there's a milling and there's a 2-inch overlay on Burkett Lane. We have changed that number from $47,000 to $60,000. That bond has been prepared, it's signed today, and it's on its way to the township. You'll have it tomorrow, Federal Express. The discussion with the bond is, and deeds have been prepared, legal descriptions have been prepared for Burkett Lane. The township just has to decide, is that the part of Burkett Lane that you want, or do you want to limit the amount that you're accepting Burkett Lane? From the developer standpoint, doesn't matter, whatever the township wants to accept is fine, but we've already prepared the deed. What PA Finance, the developer owns, PA4 is prepared to sign, the PA Finance is prepared to sign. That's actually Burkett Lane to the township. The $1,996,000 suggested bonding would come to the township in two forms. One would be from PA Finance and bonding company, and the second would come, and that's the largest piece, that's $1,503,000. The second part would come from Subert, S-E-B-E-R-T, it's one of the largest bonding companies in Western PA. That's in Stewart Construction. So they would prepare a bond to the township in the amount of $303,622. I'm sorry, that's the rest of the show. They would be preparing $606,334 would be a bond from Subert, who is Stewart's bonding company. They would bond PA Finance, but they prepare a joint rider. So the township would have a bond from Subert for $608 and a new bond for PA Finance in the amount of $1,503,043. Combined amount totals to $1,996,005. So that's a lot of numbers. It's all one that I have submitted to township for the supervisors. From a construction standpoint, we have a contract with Stewart that will be signed tomorrow. They're on site as early as next Monday, July 8th. They are committed and have the project finished, and so that we can have the paper come in the middle of October to the end of October, so we can pay before the end of the year. We want to get it paid. We want to have the initial work surface go on. When it rains, we want the water to go into the inlets and know where it's supposed to go. So I'm prepared after Rob speaks and Dennis speaks to answer the question.
Questions, Terry?
Yeah.
I want to hear from Rob next.
Yeah.
Then the solicitor will be asking some questions.
Correct.
Then the supervisor.
I believe everybody has a copy of my June 22nd letter. Manager. Basically, everything that Barry just outlined to you is exactly the way I calculated it. I can see my breakdown. His description to you. First three items on the schedule that was on the back of that letter. That's corrected work that has been identified through a series of walkthroughs that have been completed with myself and Kevin from Public Works. We've provided that list. We met with Alex Paris on site to make sure it was a very clear understanding of what needs to be done. And they provided those proposals to Mr. Grove for the project. The remaining work, again, as a follow-up to that site work, Alex Paris provided that final paving number. And it's, again, as described through a contract, so contracting is going to take over the balance of the work of the development. The streetlights, trees, reforestation, line items, and sidewalks all have a 10% additional added to them. And on top of that, that subtotal gets the cost contingency 10%, the engineering contingency 5% to get to the 1.996 million that you're referencing. So everything seems to be in line according to the developer's agreement. I believe it's your pleasure at this time.
To have a seat, we're going to need you, so we can ask a question if we need to. Yep. Okay, Dennis.
We've had some meetings about this, discussions in my office with Mr. Bo, I believe Rob and Mr. Ziegler, I believe Jordan's at the meeting, but the agreement spells out different things that need to be done. One agreement spells out a bond, which I believe no one ever found the original bond. It can't be located. So as part of the whole process is getting a new bond in place. That original bond must be in the township's hand. If something goes wrong, you can't execute against a copy of a bond. It has to be the original. There's a appellate decision saying that. So that's what we had the meeting, and I believe Robert came up with some idea what the costs are to finish it up. And he then told Mr. Grove that these costs need to be put together and need to be part of the bond. So I did check the company when I got the copy of the bond. The bonding company is valid because sometimes you have to check them because sometimes they have a rating. Bonding companies having ratings of A++ and B's, all that. You want to stay in the A range, which it is. So I did check on that bond company. We also had a discussion about Burkett Lane coming off of Route 19. I always want to keep saying Route 7, but it's Route 19. Now, when we looked at the drawing, his request is to take, for the township to take over Burkett Lane from 19 and beyond, I believe up to North Strabane jurisdiction. He wants to go beyond the entrance to Burkett Lane or Burkett Manor. I had the same situation. I think we discussed this before in another township. You can't, if you go beyond that entrance to Burkett Manor, you're not going to get liquid fuels. Now, it's not a lot of money, but what we did over in Union Township, the development began by the previous board and by previous consultants. And I said that we're not getting liquid fuel. So we came to understand that we would go right to the entrance of that development. It's Scarmese development there on 88. And so what we came to the understanding is that if we take over the road, we're going to go from Route 88 through into the development. I didn't want to go past that because I understand the concept of liquid fuels. But that's up to you. I wouldn't go beyond that, but I know there's a question of snow plowing. I think you plow snow, you always side angle. You don't go straight over that. Never happens that way. But during our discussion about taking Burkett Lane over, my comment was, they wanted to go with, I think, 47,000 or something of that nature. But my perspective is with the cost of inflation, I think $60,000 would be the better bet because, you look at the price of sugar, it's sort of like, everything's skyrocketing. So my recommendation was to use a sum of $60,000 to help cover the cost if you want to take that road over. And basically what they want to do, and I did take notes of our discussions, he wants you to take it over. He said the road's in good condition. I haven't seen the road. And basically that we take it over, that we have to have an MOU or an addendum to the developer's agreement or a separate agreement saying if the township takes it over, basically that we kept it up to a certain condition, And once it's done and over with, then they'll have to put, I think, 1.5-inch binder or overlay or something of that nature, or 2-inch, but I have my notes in my folder. So that would be part of the agreement. So if you want to take it over, we check the title, everything seems fine and dandy. Now, when you look at the agreement, there are different things we have placed in that agreement. And I should, nowadays I start using more in terms of the escrow amount. I think I sent over a procedure, I think, to Jeff to start using for other developments and also agreements. There's $15,000 escrow account. Is that currently, is that current or not?
15,000 is what we currently keep on hand for Burkett.
So he's pretty good at that then?
He's keeping it current. It's in the positives. It's probably, I think, as of last Tuesday, as we had our meeting, it was probably about half at that point. But he's been billed, so it's it's kind of rolling thing. There's not a constant 15,000 there because there's invoices that are outstanding.
I understand.
So, but it's been in the positive now for a few months running.
But just make sure that, with your predecessor, I know, kept good records of escrows. Another thing in the agreement, and Mr. Bull asked the question, the agreement also says about stormwater. And that's another issue you have to be concerned with. But if I'm correct, there's also an escrow amount that needs to be kept in place, I believe, for $3,000. And I asked the question for the meeting, but there's a provision in your agreement that says that he has to keep so much money in escrow or something, or a fee to cover the inspection costs by the township. So that's also there. Is that, Jeff, do we have that $3,000?
No, we don't have a separate account for that.
Well, we should, whatever we do tonight, if it's not in there, then he should bring that up to date, whatever the sum is. I think it's paragraph 26G or something like that. That he'd have to put that. He would have.
You know what that is, Terry?
Yes, I do. I refer to, I looked at the developers agreement on page 22. There is an amount, whether it's $3,000 or $3,500 of escrow, and that lets the township inspect. Even though the township's not accepting the storm bonds, that gives your engineer the ability to inspect for 5 years, and that costs.
And the reason why you do that, because people want to sue for stormwater all the time nowadays. And that's the reason why that's in it. But if it's not in that account, is it in there, Jordan, or you don't know? There is not, you don't know.
We don't have a separate account.
Well, you're supposed to have $3,000. So if anything you do tonight, I would make a recommendation that that be a condition, that $3,000 be placed in escrow with the township within like 15 calendar days or whatever you want to do, whatever days you want. That needs to be placed in escrow.
Okay, what is it? Right, so just getting this. $60,000 for the Burkett Lane.
If that's agreeable to you. Now, I have no authority to bind the board, but that was my recommendation.
Well, I'd like to get that done. And the escrow account, 15,000, that's ongoing. And then the separate thing from township inspection is $3,000, correct? Correct.
Well, the
Yeah,
60
Jeff?
60 was for a bond.
What was
The 60 was for a bond.
it? Okay, 60, okay.
Yeah, that's
60
not
60
bad.
is for a road
Okay,
bond.
It's for a road bond. So if you guys are agreeable to that, if you want, but the question is, how far in Burkett Lane do you want to take over? Do you want to go from 19 to the entrance, or do you go beyond that?
Now, here's the thing, my question will be to Terry and Rob, and you also solicitor. How's the liquid funds work? You may know that.
But look at,
The original walkthrough with Kevin Craig, when you're leaving Burkett Manor, you have a radius curve. It was supposed to end it into that radius. We weren't going any further. Because from there up is a residential housing development that takes care of that in the winter time.
If I may approach, I think I can.
The master plan showed that, I'm pretty sure.
Okay, this is Route 19 coming. The question is, does the township
Stop
want to
right there,
stop
right
right
there,
there,
right there.
or do you want to go to Park Place?
Right,
Or-
at the end of this radius would be our responsibility, because this feeds in North Main housing development.
Okay, so
That's mine.
So I disagree. I'll throw right now, I would go to the fire access road,
Park Place.
back for.
Well, what we're talking about is.
Is this
three
curb
different-
line? This curb line.
and that's what I would, that's what
That's
how we.
That's
That's
one
the
thing,
one.
is
That's the one.
the second choice is right here, so that cars could go, vehicles could go.
Well, the
into
fire lane is clean up here.
Yeah, it's over.
We don't own that. What we had provided the deed of dedication to this point.
Where's that point at, Terry? What is it? What's
It's right here.
Yeah, I see it. What do you identify with? What is it?
No, that's the fire access, if anything ever happens. How
Is
did
that
they
the
not
fire,
know
is that the fire exit?
He just said they don't want to.
Yeah, again, this line is where, if we would need everything that PA Finance owns on Burkett Lane, and also anything that BO4 owns on Burkett Lane, from here to here, gets you to that point. So it's just a.
Where is the fire?
How about the,
Second
The
access,
other egress.
we talk about second access.
that comes down, that's about right here.
Clean off the property that you own.
Correct.
So how can you have
But
that
it's not in
fire
our
access
township
on
either.
somebody
Yeah, it
else's
is.
property?
You guys take a look at it.
How can you have
Surveying
that
matter
right
too,
there?
we don't.
I understand, but I think it should go all the way back to the fire access.
You made a good comment. If we take to the entrance, I'm trying to apply some common sense here. If you take to the entrance, we get 0 liquid fuels.
If you go from here to there, you get liquid fuels.
You get-
Beyond that, you don't get any liquid fuels.
Okay, if we take it all, do we still get liquid fuels on that point?
You'll only get liquid fuels, my
To the
understanding, would
Up
be
to that
from
point.
19 to
But
here.
even if you take it all over, you'll still get that much.
I only,
Up to that point.
yeah, just to there, you don't get anything for that.
If you took it to Burkett, for Park Place, you would get liquid fuels to that point also. You just can't get liquid fuels
Where you
reimbursement
cut
on
in,
a.
where you cut into Park Place.
Yes.
Okay, I got you.
So it's part of-
There's three options. One at the entrance, to Burkett. The second one, take it up just past Park Place, so then vehicles could make your turn. And then the third is take everything. that
But
we
is
have.
this Park Place, is this a township road?
No.
If it's not a township road, my understanding liquid fuels, I can't get anything for it.
And it's not in our township.
So Park Place is a private road.
Yeah, or it is.
I thought it's in our township, correct?
Dairy Queen and
I
DFS,
thought
that's
that's
all.
separate.
That's North Savannah.
No,
On the other
that's
side.
tough.
that's when you go across.
But if Park Place
So
is.
far back, I think it's, becomes,
No.
North Strabane.
Yeah,
How
so-
far back has come North Strabane, you know?
Steel Dawn,
Uh,
so-
I think we're wrong.
It's
Up
even
the
the
line.
development,
Way back.
that's here, nothing, that's all.
It goes all the way back to
There is no
residential house.
Okay.
That's Fornicles, isn't it?
What the car was.
Barnacles?
Through there, and then you drive back.
Terry, let Terry speak for a
Okay,
minute. Hold up.
I believe that the dividing line between North Strabane and South Strabane has always been a stream. I mean, I know that for a fact. So if you go out and take a look, that Burkett Lane, the private is in South Strabane until you go up past that house on the left-hand side and you hit the stream.
My oldest son.
Yeah, right
But
before that.
that little store down there, and, where, the donut shop, and that's all South Strabane.
That's South Strabane.
No, also on the other
The
side.
plaza, South Korea.
Correct.
So liquid fuels would be available up to?
Liquid fuels, from my understanding, because I had the same issue in Union Township with their Scarmazzi development. It would not go beyond, you get no liquid fuels beyond the entrance of Burkett Lane, based upon my understanding of liquid fuels.
Do you, who cleans the snow now on the road going to the housing development?
Private guy in a little pickup truck. So
Yes.
So the town, North Savannah doesn't take care of it.
No.
That's privately owned road. They're back there.
What did you say you think if we would go to extend up to Park Place, we would get liquid fuel? That's your gut feeling?
That's.
And we gotta know for sure. I mean,
Yeah, again, so today, I just need to know what the township wants to accept from the PA Finance. Their deed will revise the deed, the exhibits to reflect whatever the township wants to accept.
And right now, they're made to go to Park Place.
Right now,
That's
they're,
been the intention for, I think, from the beginning of these conversations.
Yeah.
The two different options of one stopping at the entrance of the development, and the second option of going all the way to the back, basically to where the fire road, access road is. Those two have been brought up over the last 2 or 3 months as a discussion.
Isn't that a different property owner?
I believe it is.
So we'd have to deal with another property owner.
We would have to.
Somebody would, in order for us to take over all the way to the fire access.
Correct. That was my understanding.
And we have no
The
problem
property-
with the Park Place.
The property owner cuts off. at-
We're okay there.
Well, Mr. Weber, I just, if I may interrupt, I don't think you'll get liquid fuels going to Park Place because that's a private road. and Russ will tell you what my understanding is.
Right.
In order for you to get, if you want to stop at a certain area, you have to have an
You have to
80-foot
have a
cul-de-sac or
cul-de-sac.
something of that
That's
nature.
awesome.
You have to have an 80-foot cul-de-sac.
Right.
If you don't have an 80-foot cul-de-sac, you don't get
any.
So there's still a contractor in place to clean Park Place, and that same contractor can clean from the end of the entrance to Burkett
Just
Manor
like he does now.
to there, like he does now. So there's no benefit to the township in taking it over. Thank you.
Again,
I think that should
this
solve
whole
the problem.
discussion, if we frame it, we're talking about. So, but whatever the township wants, the deeds will.
You recommend that's right to the Burkett Manor entrance.
I think both I and Russ are saying, if you want to get liquid fuels, go to Burkett, that Burkett Lane,
Just pass.
the entrance.
My ability to, I wouldn't go past that.
I would, Burkett Manor, no, I would go past it either.
No. Kevin, Craig and I, we walked up there and there's the curbs come around. And right at the end of the curb, we both agree that's where we should go. Liability reasons, because it's not a shopping center.
Yeah.
It's been resident.
So how do you get emergency access onto the private road? How's that?
He can go up a single drive.
Get extra copies.
In emergency.
with me, but I will.
You can also require that they, so we require that the homeowners association maintains that access road, so they would be responsible to ensure that. Just like I would assume they're gonna be responsible to maintain the sidewalks, you know, and there is a private street up there already.
But
That was, I think, is a quality emergency access road.
If the HOA can't be required to maintain that road, it doesn't serve them.
No,
It's
the
a-
emergency access.
The only driveway. What's that?
This emergency access, Phil, let me ask a question. Is this on a third party's property?
Well, it comes out on somebody else's property, but it's on their property, but it has to come out on private property.
This-
That's what you're telling me.
This emergency access we keep talking about, again, is this emergency access going to a third party's property?
Yes.
Do you have anything in writing? Again, I had this issue someplace else where they said they had something and the developer had nothing about an access road. Do you have this emergency access? Do you have a contract or an easement with that third party for that emergency access?
Not that I'm aware of.
How can you have emergency access to that property if you don't have an easement? This is Walter Long Road again for me.
Okay, one thing we've settled on, Terry, some, we haven't voted yet, but I think we kind of tentatively settled on the Burkett Lane. We're good to feel for that, and that's it. That's not going any further. Unless these guys take them out, they question you. You got a question, I assume, okay? Ask you a question.
So to fulfill, and I've made a notation, I just need to do research. I think that you have already done the research. Who owns the property beyond the PA Finance and PO Force property? Just need to know a contact.
I can get you the information.
Thank you.
Dennis, you have any more, so we've got the board members talk?
I'm sorry.
You can chime in anytime you
All
want.
right, go ahead, you can talk. I'll just.
Can I ask Mr. Hill one more question? Mr. Corbett, I'm sorry. I will never stop that. You know, I've done it long enough.
I wasn't sure if you were.
I apologize. When you were, and this predates you, should the township engineer at the time have made provisions for that emergency access road, so there was at least an easement or something? I mean, yeah, at the end of the day, what's the old saying, shit runs downhill.
Well,
If there's ever a problem,
I believe there is, the emergency access road is provided through the development itself.
I know, but I'm talking about that stretch of road between,
Right there.
Where's it at?
So the emergency access road comes up here. We're talking about stopping the maintenance right there.
That section right there that leads up to the housing development.
what part doesn't PA Finance want to own?
So you're saying, Mr. Terry, that where that second entrance, that emergency access is, you don't own that off of Burkett Lane?
There's a line up there, you can see where they're.
Wait to Terry, wait till we have one.
The deed that was offered from PA Finance and from Beaufort, I believe goes somewhere around here.
I thought it only went to Park Place.
No. The deed from PA Finance and from Beaufort runs up to a point, we're looking at the recorded plan. It's somewhere here, it might be here, but it's somewhere in this area. So if the township's accepting it to this point, then PA Finance and Beaufort owns it to this point, either here or here. And I'll get the research, and I'll plot this. I'll have our surveyor go out and mark where that private road returns to somebody else's.
I guess my question was, who owns the property between PA Finance 2 and the main road?
This road here.
No.
I'm not sure.
Here's what he wants to know. This is the question I have. This is your emergency access, right?
Right.
Who owns right here?
This property here is open space. It's owned by Burkett Manor Homeowners Association.
Here, let's believe that that's owned by a third party.
When you go onto the road, hey Terry, when you go onto the road, who owns that? Whose property is that right there?
Right here,
Yeah, the road. The road's in what area, in what property? You know?
if I look at the recorded plan, PA Finance and Beaufort Group owns to some point from here to either here or here.
I got you.
I mean, I don't have a surveyor plot and say, here or here. If it's here, there's no issue on it.
I think the question is, who owns this?
That is in open space and it's currently would be owned by Burkett Manor Homeowners.
That's a different story. You said a third party owner.
No,
We're talking about the road.
Private roads.
Okay, so private.
Yeah.
Where's the road goes?
The road listed.
Yeah, emergency access. is what
If they have to do an emergency exit, and they go down, that emergency access, whose property are they on? And who's liable if someone gets hurt? Is that gonna be the township's property? Is that gonna be?
Well, you keep mentioning Mr. Beaufort. Beaufort owns that development where the Dairy Queen is, right?
Correct.
Along with PA Finance. He bought it from PA Finance too.
The Beaufort was there.
Yeah.
There is a deed that PA Finance has. It's part of that Burkett Lane. There is a deed that the Beaufort Group owns that's part of Burkett Lane. Those are in drawings that I've submitted to the township. Okay, we can pull those out and I can tell you exactly, but I just can't stand here today and tell you where that ends on this recorded plan. Does it include, certainly the access road that services the upper cul-de-sac to Burkett Lane is on common property, not on township property, on common property, and that common property is Burkett Manor Homeowners Association. When it touches Burkett Lane, I can't stand here today and tell you it's on property that PA Finance and Beaufort owns, or it's going down. I think that's the issue.
And the road from the house, from the apartments, coming clear out to that point, that belongs to the homeowners association with the apartments?
Dennis has done the research. I don't know where if there's a private Burkett Lane, I don't know who owns beyond. Okay. Or can I can show you on a recorded plan.
That house there, their property, half of the road.
I guess my concern was, I had thought incorrectly that the Dairy Queen was in North Urbane. I don't have a problem going a little further if the townships get an income from it. But if they're paying to take care of the road anyway, at the end of the day, it's a wash for maintenance. But Dennis's comment on liquid fuels is on point, and that makes the most sense on where to stop.
Okay, Dennis, you can chime in, talk about what it works.
Sure.
Ask some questions on.
The
Yeah, I can ask questions. I have a few things. I know in the developers agreement, the minutes of the supervisors and the planning commission meeting, the pavilion is supposed to be 40 by 20. And it's only 20 by 20. And I know you said that the NBL or NBR, which one is it? That they are responsible for sidewalks.
No, NPR is the building company, right there in apartment homes. The developers agreement wants sidewalks. Sidewalks must go in. But that does not mean there are public sidewalks for the township to take care of.
Right, that's not my, so my question is they have sidewalks on one side of the road as of right now? You know, are they putting the other additional sidewalks on the other side?
Whatever's on the recorded plan, if there's sidewalks on both
There
sides, then.
So they will put sidewalks on both sides?
Yes, sir. The sidewalks that are in to date are on open space. The developer has put those in. The sidewalks in front of the houses, those will be installed by the builder. It's bonded by the developer, according to the developer's agreement, but it's in our agreement, in the PA finance agreement, the developer's agreement with the builder. They, MDR, the builder, is responsible for installing.
So if we take it, if we give you the bond and stuff, and we take over, I know as Rob or you, like, so when will the maintenance bond kick in?
Okay, well, we're not standing here today asking the township to accept the road. We're delaying that to a
Okay,
later
so
date.
you're done with it all?
Yeah.
Okay.
Better for everybody. Let's wait whenever 97% of the houses are done, all the
I
big
agree.
trucks are done, then let's put the wearing surface on, start a new 18-month course.
Okay.
The only piece that's been accepted for takeover at this point is what we're calling phase one of the weed sewer system, the sanitary, and that had to be taken over if it's going to go into use. So the only maintenance bond that's in place is the one that Terry referred to on the sanitary sewer. So yeah, everything else will sit in completion, but not yet taken over until we're ready for final acceptance.
Unless we decide where we want to work the land, when are we gonna take that up?
I believe it's about the same time. But we
Okay,
don't,
97%.
we don't want to have trucks. We want everything essentially, which has been the kind of the complication with all this from the beginning, right? We need to take over the private lane, but we don't want to take over the private lane until the development's essentially complete, right? So that's the whole idea behind the escrow is, here's the escrow, it's in place, there's a memorandum of understanding between the parties that it's going to be improved and dedicated to the township at that point, to whatever point is determined. And again, they've provided the documents to do so. Everything, all the pieces are in place per se, but we don't want to necessarily do that until we're in a position to accept.
I wasn't quite sure.
I'm curious. I know we've been talking about a bond. And you said you gave us a bond. Do you have a copy of the original bond that we could see?
I have copies, yes.
An actual copy?
Yeah.
Have you provided that to anybody?
I think I've provided that, but again, the comment came back, that's a copy. But I'll get you a copy.
We don't even have a copy. I'd just like to see a copy.
Okay.
Dennis, have you seen a copy of the original bond?
No. We've got a copy of the contractor bond.
Yeah,
That was
subcontract.
That's
not with that.
Right, we don't have a copy of it, yeah.
Well, a subcontractor bond with a joinder that names the PA finance, but also names the township, and it's the specific number of the developer's agreement. I've been doing this for 32 years. There's a lot of different types of bonds. Some people provide letters of credit. Some people provide a surety bond, performance bond. Some people, the contractor provides the bond to the developer, but also joins the township.
I feel like there's a letter of credit involved here at some level too, correct?
There is. That's part of it.
Yeah.
We have that at all?
Yeah,
I don't know, we have it, I know, I just remember that.
Sure.
report, the copy.
Yeah.
He has another question.
I just, I
Can't find it.
it.
All right. Okay, Russ, move on.
Dennis, we have separate emails from Randy.
That's some sort of letters or question.
Be careful, no response to it.
Sure.
Just
Go ahead.
one question, shouldn't this road have already been in place, or what we were gonna take over, or before even construction even started in the development?
Every new road that's created is owned by the developer until the township says, put the wearing posts on, dedicate it to us and start your maintenance on. Every new road that's created.
I'm talking about Burkett
Now,
Lane.
if you talk about Burkett Lane, the developer's agreement is silent as to when that occurs. The township has an ordinance on, this township has an ordinance that the township has encouraged us to accelerate. Let's get that dedicated to the township now, not later, now. So I thought it was, we had prepared deeds of dedication and legal descriptions, we can revise them. But the thought, I thought the thought was deed it to the township with the agreement, there's a $60,000 bond on it. And we don't start, there's work to be done when the development is done. And a maintenance clock starts for 18 months after that.
You get the legal portion of it done, and then you would come back and do the final pay.
There's no issue then, it's a public road to a public road.
And that's not in place right now, or it isn't?
But that's what we're talking about.
Yeah, right.
Part of what we're talking about, that's that part of Burkett now.
So it should
I
have been,
apologize, like, yeah.
No, that's okay.
it should have been discussed before now.
Again, the development agreement is silent as far as time. Dennis raised the issue, hey, let's get this done, so that's what we offered, those people offered a couple months. Okay. So the question is, what part do you want?
Hey, Rob, Russ has a question.
Thank you.
Burkett Lane determines where we're gonna end it. Hanger Boulevard, we had room when we took that over to add a 10-foot loop for the cul-de-sac. If we go past that intersection, how are we gonna put a cul-de-sac in? Bank on one side, someone else
Oh, I
on
don't
the
think we are.
other. Then why would we take it over? That's what Kevin and I, when it was this, Kevin, I walked it with
Kevin
him
Craig?
before. Yeah, Craig.
Okay.
Beforehand, and
The idea of extending back to that.
Yeah.
The emergency entrance was brought up
if I'm
by the public works staff.
yeah, and we were gonna end it at the end of the intersection, and that way the cul-de-sacs in the plan themselves
That's,
would be acceptable for liquid fuels.
Well,
Right.
Russ, you're making a good point. That's what I've done in the past.
Yeah. So I don't see how it benefits us to go past that intersection.
it was a concern raised by the public works department here.
What was their concern?
It was winter maintenance.
They make a right pull in, they make a left and pull out.
That's something I'm sharing with you, what was the concern that was expressed. It was a concern about winter maintenance and being able to plow that road, having a place to dump the snow. That's what it's explained to me. I have a strong opinion either way. At that point, I don't think I'd seen the exhibit showing.
I don't see it, Phil.
So again, this is the township pleasure. I mean, if we would have cut it off where we're confident we can get the fuel, which is the lack of easement, emergency access to the roads you have.
So if we go further, you're still gonna have the same problem. Where are you gonna dump the stove? When you, at your
Well,
end
I
of
think
your
he
commitment.
thought that if he went all the way there, he could wing it off to the right, turn around and come back the other way. So I believe that's what he was
Kind of
just
thought
on.
that would take the whole way.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I haven't had a full conversation with him. I brought it up to me on numerous occasions. So, and
Mr.
again,
Bo,
Terry, I thought, I don't think it goes beyond 5 minutes. I could be completely wrong there, but from what I remember.
There's the deed line.
here's the parcel viewer if you want to look at it.
And I think there's a line on this map.
And that looks like
And it's close.
Access road.
Right? Yeah, I think it's more
That's what I
close.
should have said, no.
It does, it'll say it's just beyond it. It looks like you can see the faded line where it looks like a property line.
Attorney, one thing that really concerns me, you're asking for a bond reduction when we never had a bond. So that being said, and this has been brought up, I'd like to have all the amount of money that's been spent and time been spent by our township manager and our solicitor to come up with a bond. If you have a copy of the original bond, you should have it in your file to show us today. Do you have it?
I'll pull up what I have.
You have a copy of the original bond from when this project started.
Hey, Terry, just provide that for us, will you? If you have it, you have it right now?
I think I do. I think I do. Again,
That puts it to rest, because that's my problem. If we never had one, I mean, I'm here to look out for the taxpayers, number one. Number two, we've spun our wheels on this enough. If you have it, why hasn't it been provided?
I thought I have provided copies.
Jeff never got it, Dennis never got it.
If you don't have it here, what you can do is you can email it. Before we start today's proceeding, Mr. Murphy asked some good questions. I mean, I'm concerned because of my experience. What I'd like to see done, Mr. Poe, is with all due, what I'd like to see.
Dennis.
Is it the subcontractor's one?
No.
Is that the original performance bond, a copy?
That is a copy.
Well,
This is-
but let me make a statement to you all. He's provided a maintenance bond to Ouija, a copy. We've not got an original, and the copy's not worth nothing. He's provided us a copy of what he wants to reduce the bond to, but it's not worth shit because it's not original. And we don't. And I've told this story before, and I'm going to tell this story again. When we were in business, and I did a lot of bidding for municipalities in the state, I had to provide bonds. My insurance man got tired of me bothering him, so he gave me blank ones and told me to fill them out and send him a copy as I did it. And, you know, blank bonds with the signature of your insurance agent or the person that provided it are a dime a dozen. So would each person like a copy of this? Do you mind?
That's not a problem. Again,
You want to do it? You're gonna get over where we get everybody a copy. You want a copy, Rob? Sure. Okay. And you want to do
Thank you.
Get enough for everybody in the room.
Because this changes things.
I stand here in front of you for many meetings now, trying to have the township say, what amount of bond do you want? I can't have a bonding company. I had to issue a draft a couple of weeks back. But it doesn't mean anything until the township says, we want the amount to be $1,996,000, then you'll have it within 48
Because we're
hours.
still
That's what
waiting
was in the developer's agreement. Why didn't you that's the bonding amount was in this developer's agreement. That's what we signed as a township.
Correct.
Then why wouldn't you give us that amount that was in the developer's agreement?
That should have been provided back in October or July of 2022. I agree with you. I understand the concern from the township.
And that takes me to the next question. When was this project started?
July of 2022, I believe.
When did you come on board with it?
I became involved after the approvals, after the work actually started.
Right.
Yeah.
So I mean, you don't really have firsthand knowledge of what happened prior to that.
I not on the approval process.
Yeah. I mean, I'm okay with whatever, as long as the township's interest and the residents' interest are protected, period. Period. See, and how many days would it take for you to, if we come up with an amount today, how many days would it take for you to produce an original and give it to the township?
Again, what I suggested, 2 bonds, one coming from Super, representing the work that Stuart's going to be doing, and one coming from PA Finance. They've already, I've talked to both of them. They're waiting for this meeting today.
How many days? 5 days?
Yes.
All right, so you wouldn't have a problem with us putting in the motion that if you don't provide it in the allotted time, the motion is null and void?
Yeah, it's hard for me to.
Let's
Make it 7 days. I mean, it's not something that I can do. It's something the bonding company.
Well, I
We do
understand.
we do have a July 4th.
You've done all your homework, then pick a number of days. You've supposedly done your homework, you supposedly are ready to go.
Yep.
And we've been waiting for this since 2022, so, forgive me for acting like I'm ignorant, but township hasn't been protected. And you have to admit, there's been a lot of problems on that job. You've had to change contractors, you've had slips, you've had a lot of problems, and there's a lot of unanswered issues. And it's not that we don't want to work with you. We want to work with you, but it has to be in the best interest of the township and the residents.
Understood.
Can you do it in 7 business days?
Uh,
That'll allow you the 4th of July holiday.
Yes, again, before I came today, I did talk to the bonding companies and say, we could be at the finish line today, and I'm gonna be calling you saying, go,
So,
produce it.
Are you guys good with that? 7
Whenever-
business days?
yeah, but I have a couple of questions, you don't mind?
Good.
Your bond you submitted to is like 1.5 million. Rob, what should the bond be here? Protect the township.
1.9, right?
The total should be 1996, so the question
Because he
that I
put,
had is you the Suber piece, right? So he has the piece for PA Finance, and he has the piece for Suber. If he's giving you 2 bonds that total 1996, and the township's a rider on that subcontractor bond, is that acceptable in your opinion? That's the only piece that I have a question about.
Yeah, I had that question too. Is that normal that we get one from them and one from a subcontractor? Shouldn't it all come from PA?
it should all be PA Finance, but the Skyward's bond has 1.5 or 1.5 million is what he
I
said.
think that was prior to our conversation and our going back.
All right, so that came out, what's the date of that?
Although, what is,
And this
What was
one
the
here,
email?
where's the date?
What's the date of the email? June 18th?
June 17th,
17th.
yeah.
so that might be the difference there.
So June 17th, the bond submitted to my office was 1.5 or 1.6.
15528-009.71.
I can get you very close.
And then your bond, you suggested, according to your email of June 22nd, it should be $1,996 some odd dollars. So that's what the bond should be.
The total, you're accepting 2 different bonds. The total should be 1.96.
And that would include the 60,000 for the Berkeley.
No, that's separate. 70,000 is second bond.
Okay. So the bond should be $1,996,000.
Right.
And basically how quick, and Russ asked you, I'm sorry, in
7 business days.
7 business days. So today is July 7th. You have,
Today's July 1st.
July 4th.
Today's July 1st.
Is that?
Today's July 1st, that's not Russian.
I got a headache and a half. I'll be frank. My head's killing me.
Now, Terry, there needs to be a penalty on there if you don't provide it. In my opinion, the penalty
motion-
should be the motion is null and void.
That's part of the motion.
Okay, and then at that point in time, you're in the broker developers agreement by not providing a bond to start with. I mean, you break the developers agreement, there's just certain other things that happen that's gonna take us down a road that I don't believe it's in anybody's best interest. But on the other hand, the township, the supervisors, the residents, we all need to be protected, the employees.
Terry, give me a bit of.
I got the 12th, not counting today.
What is the 7-day thing?
To have that.
You gotta put that
7,
on.
I just say you put it to July, today's July 1st. Yeah,
They're good at July 15th.
Yeah. Russ, do you have a problem with July 15th, by the way?
What's that?
If we put July 15th, just, you have to have this by the bond by July 15th. Just put July 15th.
Okay.
Because you have July 4th coming up.
What is this?
People already taking time.
Jeff brought up an idea, but there's a penalty. Penalty not due by 7 days.
Well, maybe.
Not disclosed penalty.
Nothing happens anyways.
Does that give you enough time?
As long as it's in my hands.
On the 15th?
Yeah, I mean, we're not gonna do anything with it, but keep it safe. I mean, we're not.
When do you want it, Jeff?
15th is fine.
15th, okay.
Yeah.
Now, Terry, if this isn't acceptable, tell us, and we'll let you go back and regroup and come back, and we can continue this meeting, but we have to pick a date. You know, you need to be happy with this, and it needs to work, because there's just been nothing is just, and we've learned from some other developers, nothing has gone the way it should. The files are not full of what they should have.
So I can say
And
motion.
we don't want you to commit to something you can't do and then not do it. You've wasted everybody's time here. It costs a lot of money to put this meeting on. Him, the legal advertisement, Jeff's time, George's time, Scott's time.
Can I ask a couple questions? Mr.
Correct.
Mr. Weber?
Yeah, we're not done yet.
Mr. Murphy, I was saying before, raised a couple of questions about taking over, I think pickleball courts and all that. And I have this issue somewhere else right now where someone's saying you made all the owner, the seller, the lots made all these representations. What I'd like from you today is, of all those public improvements, pickleball courts, sidewalks, what's going to the HOA? If I have a letter, at least I can have, you understand what I'm saying, Mark?
Oh, yeah, I get it.
And
So it
you
was
can-
the pickleball courts, the pavilion, the sidewalks, and the fire pit.
And if you could put that as, you are the representative of PA Finance, correct?
You're the sole member of the HOA. You're the sole member of the HOA.
There might have been a couple.
Let's say he just screwed them over. So if you could put that over, sorry for the language.
Certainly we'll have a letter submitted to the township that the open space deeds have been prepared, have been dedicated to the HOA, and on those open space are items that the HOA is solely responsible for, such as pickleball courts, pavilions.
And
Can
second,
you, I'm sorry, Jeff,
Go ahead.
I just want to make sure, because also on, so I'll just go through it. So there's a pickleball court, fire pit, and parklet with benches, the shelter, or the pavilion. It also has streetlights in here, which we want nothing to do. We're not paying for streetlights. It's bonded. And then I don't know about, I'd have to have all the deciduous trees. They're all bonded. I don't want to maintain them out there, so.
After
Any of the landscaping?
once everything's in, that's maintenance fund gonna be for roads or storms or type of infrastructure.
And Russ had brought up fencing for the retention ponds.
or expensive.
We don't want to have anything.
No, but is it on, is it to be done?
I did not see fencing. on
There
it.
isn't any on the drawing.
There isn't
That's
any.
why I said, we've argued about.
Are they dry ponds or wet ponds?
They are to be dry ponds, meaning after so many hours after rain.
That's a little different story. And the other thing Mark had brought up, are there sidewalks on both sides of the road okay.
On the drawing.
Are you providing sidewalks on both sides of the road?
If that's what's on the plans, and I believe that's what's on the plans, yes.
Scott, that's what's in the plan, right? He's our code for, he said it's in the plan, both sides.
And now you're telling us that that's up to the developer to provide. Excuse me, that's up to the builder to provide,
To install,
to install.
yeah, it's in the.
But it goes off of your bond. How does that work, Dennis? Do you get a bond with, NVL or NVR, or is it, I don't know.
That's it, right, it's in the PA finance.
Okay. That's where
So think of it this way, so think of it like the installation of sidewalks is to be done by the builder as a subcontractor to the developer. So the developer still has the guarantee that the sidewalks are put in. Not necessarily that, it's still his responsibility to make sure they go in, not to physically actually put them in. Does that make sense? So they still need to bond it because the value of the project still.
All right, I just want to make sure they go, and I don't want another shebang there. I want to make sure what's on the drawing.
And we don't inspect it. No. Okay, so
So
I want to make
who
sure.
ensures that that it gets done?
So that's the question. So, I mean, that's one of the things that, you know, maybe put a note on the building inspection that before final occupancy is issued.
So it
the
wasn't,
sidewalk should be put
it
in.
wasn't your job to check if the building was the correct size?
No.
That's not your job, that's.
Yeah, I don't know anything about.
Well, I think after what we went through with Strabane Manor for the last many years, I think we need to determine that today, who's responsible for that, and who's gonna see to it it gets done.
Yeah, well, I think that's what happened, is Strabane Manor was a similar situation where it was on the builder's responsibility. And then, yeah, nobody was looking to see whether or not it's getting done. If you have a good builder, that's not a problem, but in that situation.
Well, his question is, who's doing it now? That's
Nobody
Nobody
said it's not our job.
Okay, there are documents.
I mean, again, we're not, the township's not taking over the sidewalks. So we're not taxed with looking at that and reviewing that and inspecting that. So we wouldn't even be called back to look at it, even if it's not on our radar. Once the roads and the storm infrastructure is in, the things that you will be responsible for moving forward, we're out of it. And that's kind of turned over to you guys. The only thing that makes sense to me is to put a note in the file for the final occupancy permit when the homes are built that, hey, check the box that the sidewalks are done in front of this house. That probably makes the most sense. Plus, it's the last thing. It's got a last check. You're going down the list. Is all these things in place? Last
And
watch.
then it's done as you go.
Hey, Scott, would that be something you would check? Wouldn't do that something?
We did it in phase 4 in Strabane.
Okay, so when can we expect this letter?
But there are documents in this building that says that the township is responsible to inspect developer improvements. Now, I mean, I don't care whether we have code enforcement do it. I don't know care if we pay the engineer to do it. And then we charge the developer first time. Actually, I would prefer from a liability standpoint that a registered engineer inspect and approve and not have a township employee be responsible for that. I just think
For the
that
sidewalks?
yeah,
Simple
to
check
inspect
box.
I mean, again, that's fine, but remember that by the time we get to that point in the project, we're long gone. So, I mean, that would involve our involvement in the project moving forward. Again, which is fine, but there's gonna need to be some communication, because again, once it gets to the point where we're building out the 97%, like, we're not paying.
I hear you, but we don't need another like we did with Strabane
And you
Manor.
can still hold
Unless you
enough
can
bond
come up with a
money
better
to-
way to solve the problem.
I made my suggestion.
Yeah, he made it. I'm okay with that. I mean,
Well, that's-
somebody in the township needs to.
Yeah. And if there's a question at
We're
that point,
also, we're hiring.
Yeah,
That's
this
what I
new
said, that would
person-
be that guy's job. That's
Yeah,
not-
this new
That's his job.
This is
Make
what
sure
we're
there's
doing.
street lights and the trees and the
Yeah,
sidewalks.
this is
and
the gap that we
pickleball.
have
all
identified, that,
As we go.
that was it.
and if there's a question as to whether something was done properly at that point, 100% we get involved at that point.
That's fair.
And that keeps us from not being liable as well.
Yeah, their full job is to just live with it as developers.
Is there another-
To ensure that.
Everything's done, but we're not responsible for a sidewalk cracks, because he looked at it.
Well, they're not checking it. They're not doing an engineering inspection.
No.
They're just determining if it exists there.
As per
I'm
the
not-
master plan.
we can get
Okay, and what else, if I could, Mr. Weber, ask one more question.
Go ahead. What do you close it up there?
Mr. Weber, also, could I ask you to do me another favor? Again, they say wisdom is experience, experience is the mistakes either you've made or somebody else has made.
Yeah.
So, I'm assuming when you sell your properties, you have like an advertisement or something you give to people?
The builder has a marketing package.
All right, and can you get us a copy of that marketing package?
Absolutely.
Get that to Jeff, because that marketing, I got, another place I represent, people are saying this is supposed to be done and this is supposed to be done. So if you're gonna copy that marketing package to give to Jeff to put in a file for the future.
For illustrative purpose, but.
I know, but I have someone saying something to representation. I just have too many headaches right now. So if you can do us that favor. Now, Mr. Weber, I got a question. So we made up our mind, I think we've got you at your meeting, but the question is, what portion of Burkett Lane are we going to take over? Has that been, do we have any idea yet?
He said we don't have to make that decision yet. Terry said that, but I think we should.
But I think you should. I think
we
we
should.
would like to get those deeds done.
Okay, we'll make that We got a separate motion? or-
That should be a separate motion, 'cause I need direction by your agreement.
Let's do the first one. Are we done asking questions before we do the vertical plan thing? Do you have anything you want to add to it?
Yeah, I do. Again, there's been a lot of discussion. I stand here before you today on behalf of PA Finance. I have talked to the principals of PA Finance before the meeting today. A bonding recommendation that totals $1,996,000 is acceptable to PA Finance. And as an additional offer comfort level, you won't see me back here asking for a bonding reduction prior to this being installed. So, I mean, so I would have the ability to come back each and every month saying, Stewart did this, Stewart did that, reduce the bond. We're not doing that until the township sees all the roads in.
Gotcha. Okay, now, you want me to, parliamentary, you want me to read this big long motion first, then do the road? Or do the
I
road?
think I would do this and then we do the road separately.
That's what I'm saying. Oh, yeah, you got it. We didn't do the motion yet, okay?
So the Subic or the store construction, are they doing the paving on all of your roads as well as Burger Lane?
Stewart Contracting is doing the new work, the new grading, the new storage, the new sanitary. They don't do paving.
Paris is going to pay for
But I
that.
have somebody else's tax.
What's their 60,000 bond covering? Their part of the work or?
That's just covering from the Route 19, that's wherever we stop.
That's a separate bond.
Yeah, 60,000
There's
just
another-
for Burkett Lane.
Correct.
But if they're not doing it, why are they getting a bond for it? You just said they don't pay.
Stewart, again, Stewart is providing, their bonding company is providing a bond for work that they
That they're
do.
doing up there, the grading and all that.
Correct, that's correct. They're also providing a bond to wager for work that they're about to do. That's what Stewart is doing. The road bond is coming from PA funds.
Okay. And Alex Paris is doing the paving.
Alex Parrish will probably do the paving. Yeah, that's a couple of years out. We don't have a contract with.
Any other questions? Any one last minute question? One last thing?
Just a statement that I'd like to make here. Just so Mr. Bove understands from our discussion today, if you don't provide a bond by July the 15th, as we all agreed to, 15th, and then you are in violation of your developer's agreement, and then we have the right to come back at you and put the kiboshes to things and stop it.
So what's your kiboshes? Are you talking a monetary
This is
penalty
what,
or
this
shutting
is,
them down?
this is the motion.
I get it, but
What
I'm
he just
asking
said
what,
is the motion.
I'm asking what.
Well, no.
You talking about a fine or something like that?
No, stop, just put a stop work
Stop
order
order.
until they do provide it for the addition. Not gonna stop what you've already sold to the developer. He's putting the house on. We're gonna stop the dirt moving from there forward, and you're okay with that?
I think you may be an issue with the development. If he's got lots being already developed.
No, we're not talking that. We're talking just the addition.
He's still.
Oh, okay.
he's still-
Yeah, just the addition.
This is your township, you make the rules. As part of the approval of the bonding, that's part of the approval.
And that can happen if the developer's agreement's not in full compliance, correct?
Yes.
We don't need to make it part of it. It should have already happened.
Exactly.
Not yet.
Okay, take a break, take a breather. And, we're finishing up this one, decision, one motion for the taking over what part of the Berkeley land, okay? We'll make that decision today too.
Russ, you got more time in this game. Do you think we should stop at the entrance at the Burkett Manor because of liquid fuels?
I would stop at the entrance. It's not going to affect liquid fuels. We're not going to have to worry about getting property for a cul-de-sac. We cannot end on a road stop cul-de-sac.
And actually, you can't even end the road because the road doesn't end.
Right.
Well, you are, the road is, you're gonna pull up and you are in.
We're going to make a right on an existing road if there goes something to the development.
There's your cul-de-sac.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I would end it right at the end. Well, our plow trucks are going into, if you take it further, they're going to be going into a private housing development and a mall.
Yeah.
there's an accident, who's liable?
Yeah, but when they can't get to their fire access, who's gonna be liable?
He calls Kevin and say, hey, I need this plowed, and Kevin plows.
By the time Kevin gets there, somebody had a heart attack and died.
That's a good
Well,
question for
there's
Terry.
something else you could do too on that. I mean, we don't have to take it over to do winter maintenance. We could strike a winter maintenance agreement with the owner that's doing it now. To get it up to that point. If you felt like you had to
Nobody
do that.
plows it right now. Them people drive over snow going back into that apartment.
The portion of the road,
They do.
Terry, that's
I've heard.
owned by their, no, the other side. B4. Okay, and it's owned with, are you going to deed that portion of the road that PA Finance One owns? Are you gonna deed it over to the HOA as a common area?
Yeah, it makes no sense for PA Finance to own that
That's
portion of
correct.
the road into perpetuity.
So if you tell us what your next step is, that will be a huge consideration for us.
Yeah, if the township says for the next step to this point, that would be our next step. We would take the legal descriptions, and break them into two parts. This part of PA Finance and BA4 is going to the township. This part of BA4 and PA Finance is going to the HOA. Again, I think BA4, I haven't spoken to them on that issue, but why would they not?
Does that make sense from a legal, does that cover your point? If their HOA is not doing it, it's not our problem?
Okay, so they should take care of this.
Yeah, I guess. That's fine.
I mean, I can't believe why BF4 wouldn't want the roads going to his development. Does BF4 own on the other side of the creek that development? Yeah, Napoli. So they're already cleaning those roads anyway, so there's no reason for them not to just do it. Does that satisfy you, what I said?
Yeah. Hey, Terry,
That takes care
what's
of
that,
liability?
you turn up Brick Lane, what's the name of that new road?
In the development, what's it called?
Very first road.
Black Oak.
Black Oak.
Black Oak Road or Black Oak?
Black Oak Drive.
Black Oak Drive.
Okay, now, pardon me, Terry, you listen carefully.
I will. I'll
Listen
help
word.
you.
You're right, Clark.
After Mark's concerns with the liability and Russell's concerns with the liability, should that be a part of the motion that the HOA will own their half of the road from Black Oak up to emergency, up to the, at least
To
up
the
to
end of their
the.
property line.
Yeah.
But the HOA, I mean, you'd have to. The HOA, you want the HOA to own from the Black Oak up to that fire lane? Half of it.
Be a 4 on the other half.
That's something you'd have to work out with those folks. That's being presumptuous, don't you think?
No, because it's up to, they're the only member of the HOA right
Oh,
now.
that's right, that's right.
So they can do it.
But he'd have to talk with a guy across the street.
That takes the liability off of us.
Yeah, he wants the liability off of us, rightfully so.
And again, BA4 is okay, PA Finance is okay of deeding as much as they own to the township. If the township says, we'll take it to this point, then PA Finance and BA4 should dedicate the balance to the, of Burkett Lane.
There you go.
I mean, again, the motion should be, that's what we will do.
All right, so you make another, I'll help you craft.
Sure, write it down, let's start, yeah, we've got one to start on.
Right now.
If you want to, we can, I gotta wait for George anyway, he went into the shop. Phone call.
Just like that. We had to do.
Think we'd have coffee and keep on going. That's right. That's all right.
So that's be owned by the HOA, is that what you're saying?
HOA and,
To be deeded.
and the developer of the, I don't know what that plan's called.
We got 3 motions with it.
Be a
Yeah,
four.
that's-
Be a four.
What about the pavilion? We never really got an answer. Minutes say we were gonna make that a 20x40, and it's a 20x20. We never really got an answer on that. That was agreed in the minutes.
I would say it was a site plan adjustment. I would say it was a site plan adjustment. It was done. I don't remember why it was done.
Well, it's in the planning commission minutes, it's in our minutes, and it's in the developers.
Yeah, I'm not disputing that, I'm just saying that it was something with that, was something with pickleball court too. Whether it had to be located, it had to be shifted a little bit,
it's not a little.
took a little bit of the space.
It's not arguable, we wanted that for a reason.
I just say there was, I want to say there was a reason, specific what the reason was, I don't.
The reason was because there was no facility for the HOA to have meetings.
why it's 20 by 20 and 20 by 40.
Yeah, there was an adjustment to the site plan in that area specifically.
Well, that never came back to us, because we never approved the
Yeah, I
adjustment.
don't remember why it was made.
Well, it's better than a 10-foot gazebo like this.
I looked at the
All right.
report and I ordered it based on.
I'm only worried about the same thing will happen again. If somebody at that plant finds out it was supposed to be a 20 by 40, and then they come back after it's like a Ray Manor, and sues us, and we lose.
Well, it's gonna
It's on
be,
us again.
it's gonna be in there that we're only responsible from curb to curb. And that's it, of the road. When we said, the fire road, the trees, the sidewalk,
I get it.
everything that's gonna be in there, it's HOAs, it's not ours. Once it's on there.
Those have been done by 3 different. I wasn't done correctly. I like to see a 20 by 40. That's what-
George gets there, we'll remove our motions. We have 2 motions on this, and we have 1 additional motion before we adjourn, okay?
So Terry,
Terry, can you ask your engineer if there's any place else they could get a nice 20 by 20 pavilion in? Make it discuss it.
so Terry, that package, what did you call that for the south?
Marketing,
Okay.
site plan.
Marketing site.
brochure.
And brochure.
Okay, parliamentarian, get ready.
All right. I didn't get to read all that. Don't do this to me now. I have to think of. Come on.
Okay.
Get some water.
Okay, ready, move a motion, need a motion to accept the subdivision performance bond sale improvement from Skyward Specialty Insurance in the amount of $1,996,005. Dated June 17, 2024.
Well, that's gonna, let's take that out. Okay, let me help you. So the motion is motion to accept the subdivision performance bond site improvement plan from Skyward Specialty Insurance in the amount of $1,996,005, subject to the following conditions. 1, deposit the sum of $3,000 for inspection of stormwaters no later than July 15, 2024. 2, continue to keep the escrow of $15,000 fully supplemented. 3, compliance with all township rules, regulations, and the current developer's agreement. 4, failure to submit the bond will result in the expiration of the motion and the payment of $1,000 fine for expenses of the meeting of July 1st. Next paragraph. Owner shall also reimburse the township for reasonable legal and engineering expenses incurred for the meeting of July 1st, 2024, with payment of due by July 15, 2024.
Thank you. Stick around.
They can't
Okay,
read.
I hope you understand everything here.
Yes,
I need a motion to approve.
I'll make that motion.
Thanks, Mr. Gregg. I need a second.
Second.
Thanks, Mr. Murphy. Let's forget about the discussion we discussed at that month here. All those in favor of this motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
You opposed, Jeff? Okay. 5-0 approved. Okay, next motion.
Next motion is a motion to assume motion for South Strabane Township, assume dedication of Burkett Lane from its intersection with State Route 19 to Black Oak Drive, with a memorandum that owner shall place 1.5 inch milling and overlay with 2 inch asphalt binder, and to also reimburse the township for any and all reasonable legal and engineering expenses related thereto, and to place a bond in the amount of $60,000 with the township. As part of this motion, the HOA and Beaufort shall assume responsibility for Burkett Lane from Black Oak Drive and the end of Burkett Lane itself, with submission of documentation no later than August 1st, 2024.
Wait, that's very tough. Point of clarification. The work on Burkett Lane is to be held to a future date.
I understand, that was part of the memorandum, so I already have it, partly drafted.
9% more.
Right. I mean, he and I talked about this.
So that should give you plenty enough time to get the bond in place, correct?
Slightly modify that motion to indicate instead of binder, wear.
Wearing course.
Wearing course?
You put that, correct that, we please, wherever it says binder.
So instead of binder, you put wearing course? I really don't know, I don't know the difference.
When does the $60,000
It's not a big deal, we don't know.
You'll have it tomorrow.
I just hope it's
So it'd be 2 inch asphalt wearing course.
It's being signed today.
Okay, the $60,000 bond, you said is gonna be in place today or tomorrow?
Well, I have,
It's being signed today, you'll have. it
well, I
tomorrow.
get that to Jeff, when Jeff gets the original, then I'll get in the agreement, he can sign off on it.
Okay.
Okay.
So you understand that basically by both, do we make that motion on it?
We haven't done it.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Okay, a motion to approve the Burkett Lane to Black Oak.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Boyd. A second, please. Thanks, George. No further discussion necessary at this time. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
So you understand, Mr. Bo, that basically what that motion says, you know, what the requirements are, but you're gonna have to pay the legal expenses, reasonable legal and engineering expenses regarding this taking over that road. Do you understand that?
Yes.
You understand basically that the first motion said that you had to, that they approved it, this bond, but if you don't get it, the motion expires. That means we're back to square one. Do you understand that? You understand basically that if that happens, that you also have to pay the township a sum of $1,000 as a fine or penalty. Do you understand that?
Understood.
When I say you, I'm talking about the owner. Okay.
And with that being said, may I make a suggestion that Jeff, if it's at all possible, you get him a copy of both motions, so there's nothing to be left question. By, if possible, by days in, or at least by end of business tomorrow.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, I know we were given a draft of their HOA agreement. Has our solicitor reviewed it?
Yeah, actually Dennis does it.
I think
You might provide it. to me.
I think I had someone online go print it up for you.
It's recorded.
It's
Order,
recorded.
order.
I didn't see it before it was recorded.
Thank you very much. This country has a road agreement. That agreement will be executed and there's a fee to do with that road agreement,
Road agreement with who?
$3,000 or so.
$3,000 is for stormwater.
Yeah, understood. You also have a road agreement in this country. A road bond.
In the developers agreement?
No,
Is this something done when Brandon was still here?
this township on your
How can
website.
we
has
have a road bond agreement for a road we don't own?
You can't.
But I think he's talking about a generic form that we take over when we take over.
Oh, we take it over.
Yeah. I
Are you
think
talking
that-
about, excess maintenance agreement? What are you talking about?
This township has a road bond agreement. I pull it out. It was prepared to.
Well, we do have a road bond agreement.
Right, but
For
that would
roads
be
that
for
we
like,
own,
for,
it's just a standard.
An excess maintenance agreement, is that what he's talking
that
about?
would be like if Columbia Gas came in to replace a bunch of lines and stuff.
It's
Or a
good.
contractor was using it to access someplace.
Okay, at one of our meetings then, the discussion was, if anything deteriorates on Burkett Lane that you own, before we put the wearing surface, you wanted to make sure you had a road bond.
Oh,
So I'm just reminding you that we will execute a road.
But now agreement, there's gonna be, you're talking about an HH, we call it excess maintenance fee. My office is called an HHA.
You have a copy of that, there?
Yeah.
You have a road bond,
What if you're gonna give us a $2,000 bond, I'm taking it.
Yeah.
I'm good with that.
After we
If we need a maintenance for a motion for that one, I'll take it.
The last 3% of the development needs to be done. If they
What's that,
damage the
Robert?
road, it's
That's
$3,000.
This
is an
When he turns it over, you don't want to bond it with that.
So once it's
So
turned over,
yours-
then it'll be gone.
Jerry, how come this isn't in place already?
He's gonna have.
Because we haven't dedicated Burger Lane.
That's not
Gotcha.
hard.
What the
HHA, gotcha.
3,000 is if they destroy it after the fact.
Well, that's different.
Say if we take it over, it's
Mr.
90%
Hey, Jordan,
done.
one
It's still
second.
at 3% that has to.
Yeah, he's being on a copy of that. We get a copy for us. You want for,
There's
Dennis?
money.
one for Rob and one for, Jeff. I have a
It's probably like
see what he's talking about. Go ahead now.
Just for informational purposes, I brought up at the last meeting about the, I don't know what you call them, people selling things at the entrance to both holes, and it's been on Facebook that people have safety concerns, they're being harassed and they're being stalked at Target and Walmart. I'm just asking again, I would like to nip this in the bud. I don't want South Strabane to have a reputation.
Yeah, Chief was here
Chief.
last time, yeah. So Target, that is where you're seeing that?
Well, the.
Trinity Square, Trinity Point, they do. it.
Trinity.
Trinity Point.
I've seen them there.
Okay,
They gotta chase them.
Hey, folks, let's move on. I got another motion to business meeting here. Letter B, motion to appoint a hiring committee for public works labor consisting of the township manager, board vice chair, finance director, human resources, public works director, and public works employee. Need a motion, please.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Williams, second. Thank you, Mr. Murphy. All those in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Yeah, this-
Motion to adjourn.
that makes sense.
Make a motion.
Thank you. Second, thank you. All in favor? Aye. We are adjourned.